Hello, dreamers! It's finally spooky season and- wait, hang on. Something doesn't feel right. Oh! Much better. Now, as I was saying, it's finally spooky season. The best time to go trick-or-treating or watch some scary movies. If you're anything like me, watch Nightmare Before Christmas for the 50th time that day. Or drop some Halloween art for your characters. So, today, kick up your feet and relax and grab some candy while you join me and our friends from the Outcasts for some trick-or-treating as I share my process for my latest Halloween-themed drawings. And yes, I am aware that once again, another one of my videos is late. And at this rate, every time I announce a video, I should probably just add a premature warning saying, probably not gonna be on time. I feel like every single one of my videos has an apology in it at this point. I promise I'm trying to get better at this. Until then, let's start the video. Obviously, we have to start with the main man himself, Sparky. And when coming up with what I wanted to make him for this project, I was bouncing around a couple different monster ideas. The first and most obvious was, of course, a vampire, since he's a bat. But I wanted to save that for a different character. Werewolf was also another idea floating through my head, but I decided on Grim Reaper both because I thought it fit with the cloak he already had, and because of some lore-relevant reasons I don't quite want to spoil yet. Another reason that is spoiler-free is that it's kind of a little reference for myself to Sparky's beta design, which hopefully I can find and put up on the screen right now. And this was originally going to be Sparky's final design until I eventually decided to change and simplify it a bit to help with silhouette and expressions. However, you can kind of see its influence in the design with the black tattered cloak and the skull-like mask that transferred pretty well to this skull face paint. You can also see I made his stinger and little raptor claws into more round, sickle-like shapes instead of the normal lightning bolt appearance to go along with the whole Grim Reaper costume. Which, yes, I know I'm calling it a costume, but I'm treating them more like Halloween-themed skins. So I didn't worry too much about changing the characters' physical appearances. Now, just in case you don't know what skins are, it's a video game term to describe when you change a character's appearance, usually differing from costumes or clothing, by not only changing what they're wearing, but also their physical appearance, by playing off their original designs. Sometimes by leaning into the existing personality, making them something completely opposite, or just exploring them in different genres by using the same or similar silhouette. Now, I'm just focusing on the Halloween design, so I'm not going to go too much into my process for making skins or how they differ from normal character designs. However, if any of you would be more interested in seeing other character skins or my process for making them and how I think they would function in game, please let me know down in the comments. I actually have a ton more ideas for these. Choosing Dara's costume was a bit simpler. For the most part with the other characters, I picked them based off their personality or their lore or their abilities. And for Dara, it was kinda just that it looked good with her silhouette. I was actually worried that making the big, strong character Frankenstein's monster would be a bit too generic. One of my ideas was actually to make her match costumes with Sparky, where instead of making her the monster, it was Sparky, because he already had the lightning association and the stitches on his head, and then Dara would be the scientist. Honestly, I still really like that idea, and I might go back and sit down to draw it at some point, but at least for now, I decided I really wanted Sparky to be the Grim Reaper, and that just because making her Frankenstein's monster was an obvious choice, it didn't necessarily mean it was a bad one. On top of that, similar to Sparky, it also acted as a bit of a callback to one of her beta designs. For a long time, I wanted to make Dara this green, almost tealish color, and if you're confused by her design here, she was also originally going to be a crab. I changed this for a couple reasons, the main one being when I did switch to eventually the red and the beige colors that she has now, she kinda just looked like she had a normal human face and was wearing armor, but I wanted to keep the mainly red color scheme because it was the inverse of Sparky, who had like red accents, but was mainly navy blue, and then Dara could be mainly red and then have little blue accents. This was kind of an opportunity to go back to that original, more green color scheme. I also, of course, added the patchwork skin and the classic glowing green liquid most people imagine when they think science experiment or evil lab into her robotic arm. The main thing of note was her shell, which you obviously can't see the back of in either of these images, but you can see the top, where I added these little Tesla coils. And I was very back and forth if I wanted to add those or the classic neck bolts, since I think it would be too cluttered to add both. Eventually I decided on the coils. I know the bolts are iconic, but it is a Dara skin, and it seemed appropriate to put more focus on the shell. Now, unlike Sparky, whose skin I imagine to probably act very similar to his default character in terms of gameplay, I can actually see Dara possibly having some extra abilities, like an electric force field created by the coils on her shell, or maybe some lingering poison damage from her arm attack. Now, Azar is the one I wanted to save the vampire for almost strictly the vibes. I mentioned in my first video talking about the Outcasts that Azar used to be part of the Mafia, which, by the way, I would like to note that I was wrong and I'm sorry. I did a bit more research, and even though mobs and mafias seem to be similar, mafias are much more specifically very family-oriented and seem to specifically be Italian or of Italian descent, which does not work for Azar, who is very much Australian, or at least my world's version of Australian. So unless there's like a specific name for Australian organized crime, I should have said he's part of the mob, not the mafia. Either way, it was a great opportunity to lean more into that side of his past with the spiffy three-piece suit and the slick back mane. Even if said slick back mane didn't end up appearing in the final art, because I wanted to give him that spiky on edge look that you see in a lot of cartoons when someone gets startled. In the background, you can see Vox trick-or-treating while Murdoch gives him some candy and Maelstrom just broods off to the side. I admittedly didn't really go with traditional Halloween monsters for Vox and Maelstrom by making them a wizard and a knight instead. When looking at other classic Halloween monsters I had in use so far, like slimes and werewolves, I just didn't really think they fit. I did admittedly really like the idea of making Maelstrom a werewolf, since I felt like it fit with the whole frenzy mode ability, but I didn't really know how to put a wolf and a shark together in time. Time really was a big part in a lot of these designs. The curse of writers and artist block. However, I think Knight works just as well in terms of personality. Maelstrom is definitely the type of character who wouldn't really see a point in Halloween but still begrudgingly dress up for the kids. And fun fact about Maelstrom that I don't think I mentioned before is that before he was a pirate, he was part of the Atlantean Guard, so I can definitely see this costume just being his old work uniform that he just quickly put on for the night. The last two are kind of boring. I knew I wanted Vox dressed up as something more magical because he's the main eldritch of the group, so I settled on a wizard because I wasn't sure if a normal witch was gonna work. And for Murdoch, I mainly just wanted to make him a mummy because I really like the idea of his usual chains becoming the wraps. Though you could definitely make an argument that since most mummies were kings or queens of Egypt, that it would make sense for Murdoch to be a mummy since he has the highest ranking out of everyone on the ship. As for the main art piece itself, which you can see the speed paint of in the background, I wanted to have a very fun little moment with all the characters trick-or-treating. I already talked about Vox, Maelstrom, and Murdoch a bit earlier. But for the main trio, I wanted to have it so like Sparky was jumping out to scare Dara and Azar. I really liked what I did with his pose. Sparky is half bat, but I haven't really gotten a chance to like highlight that yet. So it was really fun to draw him hanging upside down from the tree while Azar gets absolutely spooked like a scaredy cat. to the point he accidentally drops his candy, and Dara just smirks there, amused. You can tell she probably coached Sparky to do that. As for the background, I made sure to add plenty of jack-o'-lanterns and to make the tree Sparky was hanging from look all spooky and dead. I haven't actually made a lot of concept art for the houses, I can imagine, so I kinda had to pull Murdoch's house design here out of my butt. I still wanted it to look pretty piratey, so I kinda got a little lazy and just put a pirate ship on top. Yeah, not gonna lie, I was getting a little lazy at this point. But I do really like what I did with the lanterns hanging from the roof. I have no clue what these are called, and I cannot find a name for them, but I absolutely love them. And I've used them in a couple other artworks for the world of the Outcasts. Overall, this was just a very fun little project to work on for the Halloween season, and I had a really enjoyable time figuring out like which monster or costume everyone would wear and putting the image together of everyone interacting, which is something I hadn't really been able to do yet, at least not digitally. However, that's all for now, so let's take a look at the final result. Alright dreamers, have a good night and keep on dreaming. If you're still here, thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you liked it or would like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel or my other social medias like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Unveil. Until I see you next time, goodbye!